welcome to another episode of Between the Lines Book Talk. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. Michelle Cornwell Jordan and I, Denice are being joined by Cristi Taijeron. And we are going today about why you really don't need to have a college education to write a novel.
Right.
And I think this is going to be really interesting for a lot of us folks because we all have, the three of us here have different levels of some type of education and not necessarily pertaining to writing. So we're going to cover probably 5 different tips and subjects on this matter. And I just want to start off with a few of well-known authors that didn't even finish school. And of course, it would be William Faulkner, Charles Dickens, Jack London, Mark Twain, H.G. Wells, George Bernard Shaw.
Wow.
All dropped out of school. So aren't we glad that they did?
Wow.
And we they wouldn't wrote such a
Kids, don't watch this. No.
So, hey, we're in good company.
Those are all the classics.
Yeah. So see you guys. I mean, not to worry. So we're going to talk about that today. And then I have some authors here who did go to college, but they didn't even go for a writing major. J.K. Rowling's Danielle Steele, Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton went to college for biology. So, you know, when he writes, he's typical of write what you know. So he took his degree and wrote about what he knew.
Right.
And then we have John Grisham and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So how about that, guys? I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting. Yeah.
So, you know, so I don't feel so bad now. I really don't. You know, I mean, I didn't go to college. I mean, it took a lot of workshoppy things. You know, so I don't know, Ivy, what did you, or Cristi, I'm sorry. I'm using her alias.
Yeah, it's okay.
She's like, this pirate girl
alias.
with all her aliases.
Who do I want to be today? Yeah. I barely graduated high school. So, and I've never once passed an English class. I've always been a writer, like poetry and short stories and things like that. And, you know, an artist, painting, drawing. And so creatively, I got the story down. But writing technically, I learned that recently, later in life, when I decided I wanted to write. So I always think, like, you know, when speaking to younger people, like you just said, no kids allowed, Michelle. Because you know what? I feel like you don't need to do this. You know,
You don't need to go.
because you can do it if you didn't, but
Yes,
it's easier if you learn those things earlier. You know, like for the first time in my life, I realized, oh man, if I only would have listened in English class, I would know where to put these commas. You know,
I'm in the same boat. Yes. Yeah.
So you can do it either way, but you know, the more you know, the better in every subject. You know.
Yeah, and I know many people that have, you know, these masters and it's not, and I think that's awesome, and I do not take anything from them in English and creative writing, and they haven't written. You know, I recently know an author, you know, that's in a situation, and because I think sometimes what they teach in school is really different from the creative writing that we do. Some of the, like if you major in English, that's a different writing versus creative, you know.
Technical writing is totally different from
completely different.
Yeah, I always like to look at writing a novel, a story, as painting with words. You're using your words to bring this picture to life for other people, and you know, we do that, and then it's, you know, the editor helps us, you know, refine
it up. Yes, they got editors. And I agree with what you just said, and I love how you said it. You said that maybe if I learned the technical things earlier, it would have made it easier, but it didn't stop you. And I think that is what is needed for this career: passion and the desire to keep at it. Denice, as she said, workshops. that's studying the craft right there, because it's the ever growing, ever learning. And Denice, what type of workshops did you attend? You know, I mean, because really that is really what I think writers should do is workshop, you know.
Right to the point.
Yeah. And
it's just right there.
Just get back to the schooling, when I was in high school, I'm dyslexic, so I could not get any of the grammatical. I mean, that was just like speaking a different language for me. And I really was creative. And my English teacher she was so supportive of me. I could not get the grammatics down at all. I mean, but my creativity, you know, so even in grade school, I was winning all these contests with my stories, even though they were writing messy, messy, messy all over my papers. I mean, it was tough. It was tough. Why did my papers look like this and nobody else look like this? I can't write, you know. So I needed a ghostwriter back then, I guess, you know. But you know, the workshops gets into our very first topic or our first tip. And for those who are going, well, okay, if I didn't go to college and I didn't take any classes, or how do I go about this? And, you know, I think the top tip is always write what you know. So that's what I did, you know. I just went out, and because I write about pagan things, witches and paranormal and forbidden histories. I, you know, took all these workshops. I mean, I became a certified herbalist. I learned about crystals. I took the 1 year and a day Wicca teaching to see what it was like to be a witch and what it took to be a witch.
Very cool.
You know, so
I love that.
10 years of this animal healing classes. So, you know, so that's where I ended up doing, you know, and so it just ended up, you know, when I wrote about it, it was just all so natural for me to write about, you know, so, but.
That's the thing with me writing pirate stories. I've always liked historic fiction, and I've always been interested in pirates. So I did a bunch of research to learn how to bring the history to life realistically. And same like you got all involved in your stuff. I have gone on tall ships and studied Caribbean history, and I've interviewed sailors and all these different people, so I know what I'm writing. In my first book, I struggled a lot more, and I was digging into the research during it, but now, like, it's all like on back file in my mind, so I can just, you know, spit it out. And I'm always learning more, but yeah, the more you know your subject, the easier it is to bring it to life and get it on the page.
I think more believable. You know, I think that, you know, it's just more believable, you know, when you know.
Yes, believable. I love that you say that, because I always say that, like, my readers don't have to like everything that happens in my stories, but as long as they believe it, that's what really matters to me.
I love that. That's very cool. And I had an experience where I was growing up that education was pushed so hard because of where I came from. I mean, it's the same, you know, situation, you know, more on the urban side and things like that. So that was what was taught. And I knew no writers. That was not even, I love to read. I love reading. I was always reading, but that wasn't in my world. Mm-hmm. So what in my head, I was always thinking, well, I'm going to get this degree and then I'll focus on writing. And guys, and again, we're not saying not to go to school or whatever, but I am going to say, I do wish I had let that go early. I wish that I had embraced the fact that I was creative. I wanted to write so that I could have my experiences like you both. And I could, because what I did, I spent so many years trying to do something I didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. You know, even going to school, studying something I didn't, where I could have been working on my writing. So I think if anything, what we're saying now is, as Denice was saying, and you both said so well, embrace who you are, and if you can do it as early as possible. If you're a writer, or artist, or dancer, or whatever, embrace that. If it doesn't take you that,
don't wait for the time to pass you by, you know?
Right.
Just
20, 30 years. Like me.
If you wait for everything to be just right, you're never going to do it, you know?
You're never going to do it. And I think that is courage. And I think that is awesome. I think you ladies rock, because you are like, okay, I'm brave enough to say, I don't want to do that. That's not my route. I'm going to do this. And look at you. You know, you see what I'm saying? Me, I struggled and I struggled and I struggled. Yes, now in 2011, I'm going to do this. I was 41 years old. Mm-hmm. So, and there's nothing wrong with writing in your 40s either. But what I'm saying is, look at all the time that has passed that I could have been working on my craft. And where would I have been if I had given that a chance? So in other words, if your desires take you in an unconventional path, go flow with that.
There's no,
because I believe
no teacher like life experiences,
like life experience, and your own self, your passions, they are there. It's burning in your heart for a reason.
Yeah, and you know what I always think about, and I was my favorite guitar player is Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. He taught himself to play guitar. I believe that Hendrix taught himself as well. So a lot of the greatest artists, and like that list of authors that Denice just listed, they did it their own way. Their heart, it's heart and soul is what brings art to life. And
I believe that
follows the heart and soul.
And I think too, the school system, I hate to say it, but the system needs to be changed. I think these, you're either your right brain, your left brain, or you got a good combination of both. I was right brain. So I'm more creative. And I think the school systems, they need to take these students and they need to right away say, this is a creative, this is more of a scientific type,
Thank you.
Yes. And
yes.
They did that from the beginning. They wouldn't need to go to college. And, it's also,
it would have already been there. The education would have been there.
Well, that's why I did so bad in high school and struggled so hard throughout school, because I'm a dreamer and a writer and an artist, and I did not fit in the box.
Right.
So I rebelled and did everything contrary to what was in the box.
Right. And I'm happy that you were strong enough to do that, because a lot of kids, they're not sometimes able to, because I work with kids, and I agree with you so much on this. In fact, and I can't believe I'm saying this on live video, but I recently went back to school. I wanted to finish my degree and everything once again, because it was ingrained in me. But I was going to go for teaching because I work with kids so much. But I really am thinking of changing. I'm thinking of just changing and going for just, I do want to finish that degree, get the writing degree for myself, and still work with kids in more the after school situation, because they foster that art, music, writing. Because I'm going to say this, and I hope we don't get hate mail, but right now the educational system, they teach to a test. They teach to a test. They teach every child, and I'm telling you guys, I'm in the classrooms, and I said they teach to the test. And these kids, they've cut down recess to about 10 minutes. You've got these creative people, and they're saying that they're, and I never forget, there was this one child, the teacher was, terrible, as far as behavioral, this, that, and the other, doesn't like to read or whatever. And I asked the child, what do you like? He likes sports or whatnot. So I found magazines or books relating to sports figures and history. And do you know he read that? You have to reach the child where they are and who they are. Not the way you think they are. See, I'm getting upset now.
Riled up.
Riled up.
When I was in high school, I had a teacher, Miss Rivera. I actually should find her on Facebook and thank her, because now when I look back, I would color when I was in class and doodle and be off in another world, not listening to anything. And she caught me coloring, and she came up behind me, and I'm like, I started putting my pencils away, And then she's like, no, don't put that away. That's really neat. I like what you're doing there. And she loved it. And she had me draw posters for her class and like really inspired my artistic side. And she would let me color on the borders of my homework.
Yes.
And
color outside the lines if you want to.
Yeah. Because when you can do it your way and it's something you're interested in, it suddenly becomes fun and it's not struggle. You're not like forcing things down into your mind. You're absorbing them joyfully. And then it's
right. Make it fun. And I love how Denice, your teacher was awesome, and you've got an awesome teacher. That's awesome.
Well, you know,
I'm sorry.
My English teacher is fantastic, and she's cast away. She was she was a relative. And I think about her every time I write, how even though I didn't get the grammatical, what the hell is a dangling participle? I have no clue. Do I
still don't know what that is?
Do we care?
That's for the editor. That's for the editors. You know?
Now, editors, you need to go to school. We love you. Go to school.
Yeah, they're the editors.
Y'all gonna.
But you know, Michelle,
we're so bad.
But I mean, what are you talking about? When I was in 8th grade, I remember. And when I went to 8th grade, I had a lot of my cousins in my class. And because I was dyslexic, I thought differently. But they put me in the special side because when it was my turn to go up to the blackboard and show my work how I get my answer for long division, I couldn't do it. And the more I couldn't do it, the more nervous I got. So then they put me on the other side of the room with all us dummies. And, you know, so really, Michelle, I know exactly what you're talking about. And, you know, Cristi has children, and so she knows when her kids come home. You know, the school system it's like a pre-programming to set everybody up to fail right away before they even graduate.
Right.
That's all it is.
It's
because of the struggles that I had with it. I think about that with my kids and the things they struggle with, and how much is expected of kids of their age nowadays. And what my mom always told me when I was in school, it's like, just do it, just graduate, just get through it. And that's the same thing I tell my kids, like the more you fight it, the longer it takes. I always ended up in Saturday school and detention, and then I was at school all the time. And she's like, if you don't like it there, then just do and get out, you know? And that's the thing, because you're going to learn something, you know, and those things can be good. You don't have to become institutionalized. You need to see it as we're lucky to have an education system in America. And though we might not like everything about it, take the good that you can get. You don't have to fit into the box, but you can peer into the box and pluck out what you like and what you need and what's going to help you as an individual. Because
I agree with that.
It's all about your view and how you take it in.
Well, sometimes
there you go. Just take it and go.
Yeah.
What's next on that list, Denice?
Oh, yeah. Research. You know, we kind of hit on that topic with know what you write about. You know, so that's research. You know, we have to have research skills. You know, and like here, this is just a stack of books that I bought to read when I wrote Candlelight and Cobwebs, and it's all other authors that, you know, did all the heavy research. And so, you know, that's really big. So if you haven't gone to college, you know what you're writing about and know how to research it, you know?
Yes, how to research is huge, because you can't just believe everything you see. You need the whole, like, and it's funny, this is one thing I remember in my high school files that like stuck somewhere in the dark recesses of my mind, was different sources and finding the same thing in different places. Because this website might say this, and then if you don't find that anywhere else, it's like, is that true? You know, and knowing like certain books and what are valid sources to study that you can trust and that you know are true and that coincide in different places too. Like with pirate history, there's a lot of lore that goes along with it, because back then there was no, you know, newspress and all that stuff. Everything was, you know, handwritten. And so a lot of stories were conjured up different. A lot of pirates didn't want their stories told. And so there's different things that different people say. And so to be able to get down to the root of it as best as you can and know what was actually fact for the time, it's tricky. And it's fun digging into it all. But if you want to write real, like we're saying, people to believe it and to be something that they're going to learn from, then you need to get your facts straight and be able to
be interested in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people tend to want to write for trends, but if you really don't have the passion for whatever that trend is, then it's going to show in your writing, and your reader is going to realize that, because it's going to just be dry. Let's say the trend is more paranormal, which it was, and it is for years. But you like Western, I don't know. The point is, don't write a book just because that's what you think is selling. You've got to write the book that you want to read, and that'll come through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's what I would think.
Yeah, and then,
yeah, because they're once again the.
Yeah.
We all start talking at once.
That goes back to what I was saying before about all my workshops and everything. I wrote about something that I was really, really interested in about and really passionate about, and I wanted to know the truth of it, and I wanted to know the hidden history and the forbidden knowledge of it. So that's what you really need to do. You need to know what you're really passionate about, because that passion spills over into your words when you write, and it's not a job. It's like,
definitely,
it's like, oh God,
like, woo!
Yeah, like you have self.
I get to talk about this.
Yes. When you meet people that are interested in the same thing, you're like, yes, we can nerd out about
this. That's true.
Well,
yes.
And I write for a home study magazine, and I'm writing a column that's helping aspiring authors how to write a book and all the steps.
Very cool.
And I was talking, on the different genres and stuff. And so, like, even with like sheer fantasy, the cool thing about fantasy is you kind of do what you want. There's not rules, there's not history that you have to follow and stuff. But you need to create your world as soundly as possible. You know, you can't be like over here and then there and then have it not make sense. You have to have a solid foundation, even if that is a completely fictional foundation. It needs to be
right. It should have some rules or guidelines for that world.
Yeah.
Right. Or it wouldn't be believable or grounded. And there goes back to that believable.
Believable is a big deal.
Believable is the thing.
And when I started writing too, even though I was putting it in the fantasy genre, every time I wrote, I would think, is this reader going to believe what I'm saying? Even though I've researched it, even though I've practiced it, and even though I've done it, this reader, because not everybody is on the same level of understanding or knowledge as the writer. So sometimes you have to write in a manner that not everybody's going to get everything you're going to write anyway. So don't stop, don't let that stop your creativity. But you always have to keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to keep who your audience. And I think that's a hard thing too, is who is your audience?
You need to know your audience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who is your audience? Who are they?
Did you guys get that little message?
Yeah, we got
yes.
Someone just
we got
yes.
Okay,
we're good.
But so for me, some of my audience are pirate people, pirate historians, people that are interested in the history, and then I have my landlubbers, people who are learning pirate history through my books. And so I kind of think about both of them when I'm writing, and try not to be too much one way or the other. And one of the things my closer readers have complimented me on is that they didn't know about sailing and the parts of the ships and all these things, and they're learning them through my book. And my sister said that I paint a good enough picture around the new vocabulary that she learned what those terms mean through the story. So it's not like, what does that mean? Like when a ship, turns, it's called come about, and so you say that and I'm like, what does that mean? But it's like, then you see the ship's turning outside and the sails change and all this stuff goes down. So then you learn. And so I try to think about, and I think about your audience, I try to think about that. Like, some people aren't going to know what this means. Like, a cannon on land is a cannon, on a ship it's a great gun. So you say it differently. Like, great gun? What's that? Where's the cannon? So in every new series, I kind of like reiterate the little issues at the beginning, and then that way throughout the rest they'll know, you know. And so, yeah, thinking about who you're, and you can't please everybody, but I do like to try to think what's going to make sense, because you don't want people to be like, what? Huh? And like getting their dictionaries out all the time and stopping, because you want them to just be in the story.
Actually, I did that in one of my very first fantasies, the Chrysalis. I had all of these really big, you know, just these terms and things as far as, you know, because it was based on Native American lore. And, you know, one reviewer said, I need a dictionary. I have no idea what's going on, because and some of the terms I just created, because we have that license to create words. And it ruined it. It wasn't grounded. And the terms, because what happens is, and I had a reader say this, if it's too difficult to understand or read, the mind glosses over it. I sometimes write in dialects. And I had one character recently in a short story, and I had an editor come back to me and say, can you either remove that or change it? Because it's so difficult to get through her broken English. You know, I write it, it's supposed to be like a Cockney accent, and it was just too tough. It was just too cumbersome, I should say. And so I had to just take it out. And I think that's the key. Like, as you were saying, if you're going to do it, re-enter, you know, there's nothing wrong with new terms. Just make sure somewhere you're putting a hint of what's going on, what's happening, and make it simple, or we're just going to, you know, everyone's just going to gloss over it.
Yeah.
So
because I always like to
made that big
writing, you don't want, I did that too with the dialect. I did a more old English, and then I went back and changed it. It's all regular.
Yeah. So they tell you not to do, they said actually don't write in it. You know, it's best to allude to it rather than write in dialect.
When people are into the story, they know what the characters sound like, look like. Right. They pick them up on their own. You don't really have to steer them too much that way.
You know, maybe a sprinkle. Yeah. So awesome. Well, Denice,
well, you know,
we've got so much more.
I know we have what 6 minutes left, but you know, I lost my train of thought here.
We can continue the round tables.
Yeah, you know, but
we can talk forever.
We have to make sure we know what we don't know when we'll
have another round table.
You know,
right?
You have to know when you're writing. You have to know what you don't know, and you know, when you go in and think you're an expert on all this, it shows up in your work. And I think that's where that extra research comes in, you know, because, you know, I don't know, it just kind of tends to show up. So you have to know what you don't know about your subject, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does. You know the rules, you break it. Yeah. I
always say, like, it's hard to write for a confused character and not sound like a confused author. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Characters are like, what am I gonna do? But you need to know. You know.
You gotta know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Wow, I have learned so much. Believable and know what you don't know. I like that. See, I've learned it. I'm taking that with me.
Well, and I think, like, back with, you know, the school stuff, like, knowing, the more you know about writing, and this is me speaking from experience, because how much I struggled in the beginning not knowing technical writing, because I didn't do school or anything, and now I've learned the hard way, like always, through different editors that I've worked with and just studying things myself, and now the current story that I'm working on, like, the draft has been so much easier for me to write as opposed to, you know, my first few books, because not only creatively, knowledge base, you know, all these things that I have that I'm better with now, but technically writing, I do better now. It's less work for my editors these days than it used to be. And so having the cleaner your personal draft can be, just the better, the less work for everybody. you know. You don't want to like lose your creative flow because you're focusing so hard on the technical stuff, but the more you know it, the more naturally it comes, and the cleaner and better it is for everybody in the long run. So the more you know, the better. That's always, as everything in life.
Love it. You know, and I want to say, and we're actually at the end of our time, so we're going to, you know, we need to go ahead and close out. But you ladies are awesome. Denice, I'm saying this publicly. Denice always comes up with these ingenious ideas on topics to discuss and just new ways to look at writing and publishing. I love this roundtable. I love what happened here today. So thank you, Denice. And Ivy, the last time I chatted with you and today, you astound me with your knowledge, your professionalism, as far as you're serious about your writing, your pirate stories, and knowing the true history and presenting that. So, whoever those teachers were, look at you now, and that is the key. I'm so happy that you are inspiring. I'm happy that you're inspiring other young writers. So kudos on that. So thank you again, ladies, for just chatting. This is awesome. I hope that we do it again and we can continue with the list until we finish the list, because I learned so much, and I'm sure whoever is watching will as well. Javi, Cristi, woo! Cristi, where can everyone touch base with you and connect with you if after that?
I do most of my, publishing my talks about all this stuff on Facebook at Endless Horizon Pirate Stories. And then I also have a website, endlesshorizondesign.com. So either of those two places will get you to me. And as I always say, I love to talk with my readers or anybody that's interested in all of this cool stuff, because without the readers, this is just a dream. They help bring it all to life.
Yes. Awesome. And Denice, where can everyone touch base? She's the diva. I love her. Where can everyone touch base with you?
Well, we'll have a there, go back to the beginning of the video and look at the post, and you'll see where you can reach all of us. So I'll make it easy.
Okay.
Video.
Make it easy.
Yeah. I'll
Go back and you'll see, guys. It's in a bit. All right. Well, everyone that's listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We just hope that you gain some type of tips or techniques that will help with your own writing and encourage you as well. So until next time, guys, have a great one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.